It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
In studio, we got State Representative Dan Sullivan is with us. Dan, welcome, sir.
Good morning, Paul. I'm glad to be in here and really enjoy your candle you got burning in here. That's really nice.
Yeah, well, we don't want I guess we don't want the rat smell to overcome us, or a mouse smell. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
If it's a dead mouse or a dead rat.
Well, it's good to be here on a Friday morning with you.
Good. Yeah, but seriously, we're hoping this thing, we can't find it, and we're hoping it's just going to dry out over the weekend. So anyway, so Dan, fiscal session's going on. How's things going one week into the fiscal session?
Well, going slowly right now. You know, we really don't have much of many of the big issues out there starting out. So we're starting slowly, but you know, we got a lot of discussion going on about the budget, and particularly you know, about Arkansas Works. You know, I filed a resolution that would end Arkansas Works in the middle of July, end enrollment. So we're hoping that will have to go first to rules and regs and pass through rules and regs.
Now, is it to cap enrollment or to cap enrollment?
It
right?
ends enrollment.
Ends enrollment.
Yeah, it's our cap it, however you want to put it. You can't enroll anymore in Arkansas Works. You know, that's a big issue that's coming out there. It'll have to go through rules and regs, pass through rules and regs. Then the resolution has to go get a 2/3 vote in order for us to bring up the bill that would cap it. So there's a lot of procedures to go through, but we're talking a lot about that. Of course, the issues that are being talked about now are not necessarily the budget, but other non-fiscal issues that may come up, like the pharmacy issue. I know you've been covering that. I'm hoping to be one of the co-sponsors on that bill that tries to straighten that out. It's really impacting our local small businesses here in Jonesboro.
Yeah, wow. Well, yeah, and I think we'll have some more to come on that next week for sure. So talk a little bit about. Well, first of all, let's back up. Let's start with there's a terrible tragedy in Florida in that shooting that happened.
Yes.
And I was talking to you about it, and you had a perspective that you're really not hearing in the media.
True. And, you know, we've all been listening to TV and radio, and you hear a lot about, you know, gun control, and you hear a lot about the mental health aspect. What you don't hear people talking about is the spiritual aspect. You know, we as a nation, we have started to restrict, and people of faith have pulled back themselves. And we've been convinced that there's a separation between spiritual engagement in government, between spiritual and faith engagement in schools, against spiritual and faith involvement in just about all of our culture now, that we've been told, and people of faith have believed, that we no longer need to engage in the culture. We no longer need to engage in the culture at school, engage in the culture in politics, and it's really been tough. You know, I was fortunate enough to go to the National Day of Prayer in our National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C.
Oh, you were there. So did you get to hear President Trump speak? I thought he gave a really good
We did.
speech.
He gave, it was a standing ovation until he told people to sit down. But it was a good speech, and others spoke. And that was a wonderful experience. One of the greatest experiences, though, was touring the Capitol with David Barton from Wall Builders. You know, David stood there in the rotunda, took a little laser pointer, and pointed to the people in our heritage. That if you've been to the rotunda there are a lot of portraits and murals around there. And David could point to the people in the back of those pictures individually and tell you the impact they had on the spiritual and religious impact on our nation. And not just on the Constitution, but on our nation. Preachers that preached a sermon, pulled off his robes, and underneath his robes he had his uniform on.
Yeah, the Black Robe Regiment.
Yes, and went out and walked to the entrance of the church and said, "Who's going with me? It's a time for peace and a time to fight. Now's the time to fight." And you know, it's hard for people of faith to realize we're at war. And we need to step up and engage in our culture, engage in government. Yesterday was the Pastors' Day at the Capitol. We had over 200 pastors in the Capitol all day preaching, and a powerful sermon was preached there in the rotunda, singing together. One of my good friends, Iverson Jackson, then had a small breakout session on engaging with the government. He quoted scripture that said, when the wicked reign, but when the goodness reigns, people are at peace. And, we really need our ministers and our preachers and our pastors and our congregations to step up and engage spiritually. The problem is guns. The problem is mental health, and the problem is also spiritual.
Yeah, and you could use the word health, spiritual health.
Yes.
After that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
On the Pastor's Day, I wasn't there, but I was there last year during session, and they had, I don't know if it was Pastor's Day then too, but they had a worship service in the Capitol there, and they were singing, and it was one of the coolest things. Yeah. It was such a relief because, and people are going to get upset maybe when my characterization of the environment down there, but I just felt like it was such a flag posted of here's people coming together to worship God, and in a place where honestly, to me, it seems there's just a lack of godly wisdom for sure on a lot of issues, and instead it's more, special interests and, how do we use the government to secure a revenue stream for this or for that or for my business or for your business or whatever. And so it was one of the most uplifting moments, and it was very welcomed to see that. I wasn't down there, but I was up top of my little alcove looking down on it, and it was really spectacular.
It is, and we plant spiritual flags all the time there, but we need to rally around those flags and keep it going. Just like I know Bob Bailey has planted a flag over in western Arkansas.
Yes, he
has. It's about rallying around the flag, and continuing to do that. And we need people of faith to engage in government openly. Advocate for that. That's the only way we're going to turn our society around. We can have all the mental health services we want. Mm-hmm. We can do all the gun legislation we want, and I oppose that, but we can most of it. But we can do that.
For gun,
I support
pro-gun legislation.
Pro-gun, thank you. Yeah. Okay. I think your listeners. I hope your listeners know me.
They do. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, but until we recapture the ground that we've lost in people of faith engaging in government, people of faith engaging in our education culture. That's one of the reasons we passed this bill about In God We Trust. I do an ad on here, and Paul, I'm going to one of our local schools. I've given out just a few of those, and it seems to be multiplying geometrically. And I had one of our local school principals who I gave a couple out at the Jan Morgan. When she was here, and they went to their school principal with two of them, and the principal said, I need 50. So I've ordered more frames and are picking up 50 of those to take to one of our local schools here in Craighead County. I'm going to a church on Sunday with 25, and they're going to have kids in their Sunday school class put those posters in the frame.
And this was a bill to do this.
Yes, Act 911 makes it legal to put these In God We Trust posters in every classroom in the state of Arkansas. So when we say, well, how do I engage? How do I really I want to plant the flag. What a great flag to post would be that In God We Trust in every classroom, in every school in the state of Arkansas, and clearly make a statement of faith.
Let's talk about a lawsuit or a dispute about free speech that happened at the end of last year on the campus of Arkansas State University. I saw a headline right before we came on that ASU is trying to get the lawsuit dismissed. It was the Alliance Defending Freedom. Is that who brought the suit on behalf of a student who was told that they couldn't assemble somewhere?
Yes, and they have free speech zones and at ASU, and the policy's been in place since '98. But times change, things change, and what may have been appropriate or seemed appropriate then, again, we're just losing ground on that. We can use that to our advantage. Iverson had a good comment that now the wicked are losing at the ballot box, so they're taking over the courts. And that's a really good comment. I'll have legislation, up for election, and if reelected, I'll have legislation that clarifies this. So ASU can change their policy voluntarily, or we'll have legislation that will cover every college in the state that will speak to this freedom of speech on campus.
Can you remind us what the situation was? It was a girl who was trying to sign people up for, it was a conservative effort, right?
Yeah, Turning Point, I think.
Yeah,
Turning Point USA. And of course, in the Jonesboro Sun, they call them a right wing.
Yeah, right wing.
So when you stand up for free speech, you're all of a sudden you're right wing. That used to be normal.
Apparently you're right wing if you just believe in the principles of the Republican Party platform. Now that is considered right wing if you're in the mainstream.
Well, we've changed the platform now.
Yeah, that's true.
So now we've changed the platform.
They did take limited government out of the platform.
Yeah. So we changed the platform so that everybody now can be a platform guy. We just make it very general.
Yeah. Well, there was a popular phrase, platform Republican, that was gaining steam. I mean, we talked about it on this program. I'm a platform Republican. These are not platform Republicans. Yes. And so they removed limited government out of there. And I wonder who asked to do that. I wonder who on whose behalf was limited government taken out of the Republican Party platform.
Good. And the same principle holds true of free speech. If we can't control it, then let's figure out a way to limit it. We'll just change our policies so that they meet the needs that we have, and that's what is going on there at ASU. They have little zones, small zones where you can speak. You have to schedule the time and schedule, what you're going to do, and there's just parameters around there that I think are restricting free speech. And I've talked with officials with ASU, and I want to thank ASU for their openness. If you went to the boat show, you couldn't take a pocket knife into the arena now. Well, I called ASU officials at 6 o'clock on Saturday night and said, guys, you can buy a Bowie knife in here, but you can't take a pocket knife in. And they changed the policy now.
Okay,
so
good.
I think you can take your pocket knife into a ball game. I'll be at ASU's ball game this tomorrow night, and I'll carry my pocket knife in, and we'll see how that works.
Oh yeah, we'll see. You're gonna. You can call me. If you
I'll
get
call the
if you get
administration
arrested,
again.
if you get arrested for something.
Well, listen, the ASU's worked with us on a lot of things. I'm encouraged by this, and we just need to continue to stand for free speech, continue to stand for our rights, and be courageous in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will just say, the whole free speech zone thing, that triggers me. I get triggered like a
microaggression to you, Paul?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a microaggression. It's a big aggression.
Macroaggression.
Yeah, it's a macroaggression. That's exactly right. We're talking with State Representative Dan Sullivan. He's State Representative for District 53. So can we talk just briefly and transition to the Arkansas Works statement that came out? I called this propaganda yesterday, but a financial fiscal impact on what happens if we were to end Arkansas Works. The reason I want to get your take on this, Dan, is because you were in the room when Cindy Gillespie, the director of DHS, said that the less people on Arkansas Works, the more money Arkansas government saves. So that prompted, okay, well then how much money would we save if we got rid of the program altogether? And now we're told, well, no, now that'll cost us money. What is your reaction to this piece of information?
It's, again, additional spin. If having originally, the more people we had on it, the better it was for the state of Arkansas. Of course, those of us that voted against it knew it was just federal debt. We're just borrowing federal money, so the Arkansas taxpayer is not paying Arkansas taxes, but we're just going into debt at the federal level. So then they come back and say, well, it's good to take 60,000 people off. By moving from 138 to 100, it's good to remove those people. And so a number of us said, well, that's great. How about 61,000? How about 65,000? How about 70? Whoa, you're going overboard. So, at what point does it hurt or help the state or help the state budget? But, and I'm going to kind of skip off of that, but, the governor has proposed a tax cut. I heard you talking about that earlier this morning.
Yes.
What a great opportunity for a tax cut right here. This is essentially what we're doing. Arkansas gets a rebate, I think 2 or 2.5%, 3% on every insurance premium. If we cap enrollment, we don't get that money in the state. That's a tax cut for every Arkansan. Also, This idea that we're $20 trillion in debt nationally, and Arkansas needs to do its part in stopping that federal debt. And all we're doing when we take money from the federal government, people say, well, we're $20 trillion in debt. We need to stop. Okay, well, what does that look like?
Yeah,
what do you do to stop?
Somebody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and we know at home, when we're in debt, we're spending more than we make. You look at your budget and you say, what do we have to stop doing? And every one of us does that with our personal budget. At the state and federal level, when we look at Arkansas Works, this is one of the biggest, and it was designed, in my opinion, to bankrupt the nation and go to a single-payer system. And those of us that say we need to stop that, this is a big part of it. Mm-hmm. It's time to stop adding to the national debt.
So you see the statement, you mentioned the word spin. Some of your colleagues, how are they reacting to this? Do they see kind of the hypocrisy of saying that the less people on the program, the better it is for us, but now if we get rid of it, it's now going to cost us money? What's the reaction for people down there on this?
Well, a number of people say that ship has already sailed. We've lost that battle a couple of times. Mm-hmm. It's time to move on. And I and several others are just not there. Certainly it would impact the state budget, but we're going to have to make some hard choices at some point. And we cannot continue. And President Trump has said, and he's demonstrated, he's going to put this back on the states. He's going to stop. And if we as a state don't stop, we're just kicking the can down the road. So although the ship may have sailed, the boat's got leaks in it. Mm-hmm. And why would we sail that ship out there in the open water when it's leaking?
Yeah, and a common sense thing to do would be to just cap enrollment. I mean, that to me is a compromise. I mean, I want to end the program right now. Why not just cap enrollment?
I spoke to a group of realtors the other day and home builders, and I said, now, guys, if you got a house that had leaks in the roof, and we got water pouring through the roof, why would we just go hire more people to empty the buckets faster? We're just going to get in more and more trouble. We've got to fix the roof, stop the leaks in a conservative way, which is to cap or end enrollment. Mm-hmm. Then we can come back with a more conservative approach. Yeah. But we can't just try to empty the leaks. People are signing up on this, and we pay insurance companies $587 a month. And then we've
they don't even go to the doctor. Yeah, some of them don't even go to the doctor because it's just an insurance policy instead of fee for service. I completely agree, and I think capping enrollment, even as bad as this program is, capping enrollment gives you a knowable number, a knowable figure, more predictable, so that maybe you can plan for actual tax cuts.
The resolution I have doesn't cap it. It ends it.
It ends it.
You can't enroll anymore.
I love it. State Representative Dan Sullivan.
Thank you, Paul.
I appreciate you coming by.
Glad to be on.
Folks, it's Johnny Cash Friday. We're going to be back in just a moment.